I'm Rebecca Nguyen, and I'm the co-founder of The Warehouse. Cars fulfilled a void in my life. At a certain point in my life, I kind of went in a direction that was much different than my peers. So I actually did a semester at community college and dropped out just because I told myself that's not how I learned, and I didn't feel like I was getting what I needed from it, so why do it, right? So I was out of there. And when you do that, you step off from the typical path, which means that your growth pattern is much different than your peers. And so I ended up kind of in a silo. I was working a lot. I was working in the restaurant and hospitality industry, and I was always working. I was also supporting myself. I moved out at a really young age. That was a fun story. Got kicked out, actually. And so my focus was work and just doing well at whatever I was doing. And that's kind of my mantra. If you're gonna do it well, to your definition of well. And that definition is always refining over the years. But there was a point in my life where I didn't have friends. My family actually disowned me because I dropped out of college. And I needed somebody, you just can't exist in this world alone. So long story short, I made my first car friend, because of my Subaru. And he also had a Subaru. We started talking about Subarus specifically, and I had an issue with my car where the transmission was actually grinding, and I was like confused as to why is this happening. And so met him, and I'm still friends with him to this day. He's Uncle Joe, and I've known him 15, almost 20 years, I think, and lives down the street from us. We do game nights. He helps with the warehouse. And so that connection is essentially what drove my passion for cars, which is kind of different. I do have a hard time sometimes because I'm not looking at cars from a technical standpoint. It's more that personal perspective of what cars can do for you in your lifetime, as far as your network, your connections, your memories, your experiences. And luckily for me, that passion actually translated and connected a lot of my experiences in my career. So I went from restaurant industry. I worked for Fox Restaurant Concepts. I was the general manager there. I was at the peak of my career, and I just still felt like I was missing something. And it was that connection with cars. And I learned that by taking a risk and taking a leap, by quitting that job, making 6 figures, and coming and working actually in this building for my partner now, and making a quarter of what I was making. So living paycheck to paycheck, but it was my first automotive gig and my first step into this community. And from there, I just kind of stayed active. I was learning my trade. I was doing marketing. So I was learning photography, video work, just so I knew what to be able to expect from a creative. So if I'm expecting a video, I need to understand what goes into it. If I need photography done, also needed to understand what goes into that. So then I can also understand the pricing, yada, yada. And so really just try to make myself multifaceted. And as I kept getting into the hobby, or I guess you could call it a career as it grew into, I started learning more about what made marketing what it is. And it's so intricate. There's, the event side of things, experiential, there's print, there's press, there's all that stuff. So I started getting involved in it. And an easy way to get involved in it is by getting a media pass. So you get in for free and you get to get into the behind the scenes. You get to be there when nobody else is and things like that. So I started pursuing photography and videography, all the while doing marketing and business management on the other side. And that actually led me into connecting with some local people and started doing media coverage, journalism, but still kind of felt like I was missing something. And as I was going to these events, doing media coverage and taking photos, I started to feel like there was a calling. And these events were great, but I felt like I could do it better. And that's when the experience in the restaurant and hospitality side and my automotive passion started to interlink. So as I was going through, I started to feel like this push to start putting together my own things. And so I started with car meets and started doing a couple of meets every once in a while. Then it turned into a car show. The first car show I did was at my other job at Humble Pie. It's a pizza restaurant, and it was called Pizzas and Pistons. So cringe now, but it was like one of my first car shows, and we had 300 cars show up. It was well organized. We did a really good job, and it just fueled that fire to bring these experiences to people. And I just loved watching people come together. It's a surreal feeling, and I think that's what I am pursuing in my lifetime. As I was doing these car shows, I kept on building it, and I got this lucky chance to do the Future Collector Car Show with ClassicCars.com. And I did that as a freelancer, and it was this big curated show, judging, concours style judging, and we just kind of continued to elevate experience over and over again. And luckily, I was able to get a position with ClassicCars.com, and that opened the door into the collector car industry. And that's really where the final piece came together. I had restaurant hospitality, I had my photojournalism, and then I had now this in on the lifestyle of collector cars. That's where the warehouse makes sense. Everything has come together here. Every hour I spent in the restaurant, every hour I spent editing a photo, everything is now the warehouse, which is exciting. And it's kind of a relief to finally have the pieces come together. Like, oh, okay, so I wasn't just wandering through life. Like, now it all makes sense. And so the warehouse represents that journey, and it represents my pursuit of connection and my need for it. So in a sense, it's kind of a selfish pursuit, but I think a lot of people do it for that reason. But I wanted community, and now I can offer community. So the warehouse is a place to gather, but it's also a way to generate community for people to connect with each other. And it gives me an opportunity to get all these crazy ideas I have in my head about experiences and events that I think I can put together. And now I have the canvas to do it. We launched the warehouse in November of 2024. So we're, six months in? And we've already been able to host several car shows and some unique experiences. We've done the Turbo Study, an all Porsche event. We have also done the driver's table, which is something I was dreaming of, and which is a chef's table experience with cars. We've also done a Lego night, which is another thing that is very dear to my heart, something I actually do with my car friends. And we have so much more in store. The warehouse has been so well received. It's kind of crazy. We've done pretty much stayed in our lane and done only organic type of marketing. There's a lot of word of mouth, which kind of makes it unique in its sense that we focus on connection. And there's so much that we can do here, and it's so exciting that we have the space to do it. We have the community behind us now to do it. And it's insane that we're doing this. It really is. The fact that I can just stand here or sit here and be able to have the possibilities and be able to think of the possibilities to make all of these different experiences and bring all these people together. And the fact that people show up, I mean, that's phenomenal. We've had, these events draw anywhere to 400 to 500 people, which may not seem a lot, but when all of them are brought together because someone told them and someone said this, and it just, all that word of mouth is just organic and it's unique. It's so hard to find that, I think, in this landscape. Coming from a marketing background, I know what it takes to kind of build out marketing strategies and this and that. And organic traffic is so hard to achieve with just how much noise there is. And the warehouse is becoming such a staple here because of that strategy, because we're focused more on the connection and not the bottom dollar, which is important. But at the end of the day, my focus is and always will be how someone feels when they come into this building, what they take away from it. And I think people see that and they've bought into it. It's beautiful, it really is. But the things that we're offering here, you can't find anywhere else, in Arizona at least. I do take inspiration from a lot of other events, and that's kind of my background too. But I will say with confidence that the warehouse it's like nothing else that you've seen before. The warehouse is welcoming to people of all walks of life, different disciplines of enthusiasm, be it motorcycles, cars, racing, drifting, whatever it is. So come see us in Mesa, Arizona.